there's going to be 6 different manufacturers involved. There's going to be a 7th in start and a sport world series championship, and lots of different nationalities, drivers from all sorts of other series all coming together for TCR. So we look forward to seeing that in the moment. In the meantime, I'll leave you in capable hands of Bahrain. أعزائنا الحضور، أعزائنا المستمعين، أصعب مرحبا بكل خير وأهلا وسهلا بكم معنا إلى ثاني أيام الحدث المنتظر، جائزة التحرير الكبرى للألوان في القضية 11. اليوم يوم دافئ، درجات الحرارة مرتفعة، وكل شخص هنا موجود في الحلبة يتقدم بجزيل الشكر ووافر الأحسان للمراقبين المارشال على الامتداد الكبيرة التي يحصلوها في ظل هذا الارتفاع الكبير في درجات الحرارة. ونجد دائما هذه أقوم بتعليق أجهزة الوظائف العمل الجغرافي عندنا، وذلك الشكل الاحترافية للمراقبين للمارشال على الكبيرة التي يحصلوها في سبيل طبعا إيصال هذا الهدف إلى الشكل الرائع والمبهر حقيقة الذي يظهر عليه. الآن اليوم نحن في يوم السبت، ثاني أيام الفعاليات جائزة البحرين الكبرى كما ذكرنا من طيران باريس لعام 2017، الجولة الثالثة من بطولة العالم للفورمولا 1. اليوم يوم ذو فقط، سيبدأ بعد قليل أعزائنا مع بطولة TCR العالمية التي طبعا ستكون التجارب التدريبية لذلك الجولات. هذه البطولة التي تسبق عامها الثالث، والتي بدأت في 2 أبريل نيسان من هذا الشهر في مصطفى موتور بارك في لوحدي. في الجولة الثانية ستكون البطولة تبني نصفاف فرانكفورت في بلجيكا، مونزا في إيطاليا، ثالثة في النمسا، أنجارو في بودابست في مجر، أوشي في ألمانيا، وألبرتان ورم في إيطاليا، جيجان في الصين.
Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are around the world. Welcome to our live stream here on YouTube and Facebook, and we're getting ready for the second weekend in the TCR International Series for 2017. Cars are already heading out onto circuit. We have the support pits this weekend, therefore our pit lane is effectively halfway round the lap. And just 15 minutes to get this Q1 session and get a time registered. Practice sessions yesterday. We practiced about this time yesterday with Jean-Carl Venet, fastest with a 2:13.5. But it's David Kajaya who leads the Drivers' Championship after his home weekend in Georgia. 6 points ahead of Attila Tashi and Pepe Oriola in 3rd position. So many stories from that opening weekend, so many stories already here this weekend. Plenty of drama in free practice 1. Pierre-Yves Courtals, his teammate Matto Hommler having the worst of it, just 2 laps before a pipe on his radiator burst and he blew the engine. Car obviously overheating in air temperature, which is already 36 degrees. Track temperature 46, therefore managing your tyres is going to be incredibly important. Do not overheat them too much, but heat them just enough to get the maximum out of the tyres in this Q1 session, which gives us 12 cars to qualify into Q2, which means we'll lose just 4 drivers. Just looking at the timing screens to see, we've got 3 drivers still in the pits. Gianni Morbidelli is one of them. Duncan Indy is another, and he's just gone out, and Ferenc Fitzer is the 3rd of our drivers still in the pits. The Bahrain International Circuit, a feature of the TCR International Series last year, is its opening round last year, and Pepe Oriola was a double winner here. Attila Tashi, there on the screen, did not have a very fun weekend. He said bad memories of Bahrain last year, heavily into the wall, and his team at that point had to rebuild a brand new Honda. Plenty of different teams to get your head around this year. Com2U Racing, with Stefano Camini aboard, is driving that Audi RS3, a beautiful machine. So far the only Audi that we've seen in the International Series. and it's the champion who pilots it. Hugo Valente, the Frenchman with World Championship experience, moving over to TCR full-time this year. He's not a completely new to the championship. He raced in Thailand, I think maybe 2 years ago now, to get some experience before the Thailand race of the World Championship. But this, a very different experience. And if you talk to anybody who's raced in the European or the World Championship, the main difference is the tyres. Michelin provide a very hard compound tyre to the TCR International Series, which means it doesn't degrade too badly, but it does mean it's very hard to get temperature and grip into the tyres, especially when you're in Bahrain on a very, very dusty circuit. Now, it's better than it was yesterday because we've had 2 Formula 1 practice sessions. We've also got Formula 2 here on Pirelli rubber, and they're laying down rubber all the time. The first of the times coming through, Attila Tashi is the first driver on circuit. A 2:14.630 is pretty competitive from the Honda driver, the Mira team he drives for this year. And Tashi has teammate Roberto Colciago, a very experienced TCR racer, absolutely dominated the International Series last year. Tashi in, the Italian Series, I should say. Tashi in the International Series last year, building confidence with his B3 Seat, now moves across to this Honda, brand new for 2017. But at least he knows how to treat the tyres, although he's already gone for the lap on his first try. Going again for his second try. Most important here is simply to get into that top 12. Most cars have come across the line to complete a second lap, but nobody anywhere near Tashi's competitive first time. Question is, has he overcooked those tyres? Very, very difficult to know what kind of grip levels we've got here with a first action on track this morning. And the drivers were out on circuit at 4 o'clock local time yesterday. It was just as hot, but there was a lot of rubber down after that. Track temperature already in 47 degrees. Air temperature 35 degrees outside, but inside these cars, as you can see, sealed by windows for absolute best aerodynamics, it would be incredibly hot, creeping up into the 40s, perhaps even 50 degrees. And obviously drivers with their fireproof kit, helmets, gloves, completely covered to protect them from fire, also means their body temperatures go crazy high. Fred Spitzer, another star of the first weekend in Georgia, has gone provisionally fastest with a 2:14.393. We haven't seen any competitive times from the stronger end of the field that we would expect to see. Jean-Carl Venet, Pepe Oriola, any of the Bamboo guys. Jump on to our Facebook page if you want to see what we got up to last night. Had a nice gathering with most of the drivers in an Italian restaurant. And a really nice atmosphere, as expected in the TCR International Series. Ooh, that's track limits, but entering the corner. Wonder how the stewards will see that. Tashi improved his time by a second, 2:13.606. Nearly as fast as Jean-Carl Venet managed yesterday in this kind of time, at this kind of time in free practice 1. Roberto Colciago, we look at now. Tashi's teammate at Mira. Mira owned by Norbert Mikelic, the incredibly famous and successful Hungarian touring car driver. Now the Bamboo guys register a time, and all of these 5 bounce up, improvements from all. Pierre-Yves Cortels on the back of that group in the Opel, the fastest of that group. Colciago second, Valente third, Tashi, Altoe and Oriola. Jean-Carl Venet, though, goes into 4th position, and Mato Homola, in his first flying lap around this Bahrain circuit this weekend, has gone 2nd fastest, a 2:12.149. Just a reminder, that is a brand new engine. They fitted it yesterday. He completely missed free practice 2. Did 2 laps in free practice 1. So absolutely zero experience, not only of this circuit this year, but also in an Opel, full stop. He didn't do much testing for the team. He raced in the Middle Eastern Series over the winter in a Volkswagen run by Team Enxler. Obviously he was at B3 in a Seat last year, and he's jumped into this Opel. He said it's completely different to everything he's driven before, feels different, the suspension, the way you turn the car into the corner just feels so different, and yet, boom, up into second position, Pierre-Yves Courtal's fastest. Opel 1-2 then. And by quite a margin too. Courtal's is a second faster than Colciago in third position. They didn't have a particularly successful opening weekend in Georgia, the Opels. Pierre-Yves Courtal's got an 8th in race 2, but Matto Homolo didn't get any points whatsoever. So the season starts here, a place that was not a great place to be for Opel when they debuted the car last year. We didn't see much of this car in the International Series, but it had success in Benelux in the second half of the year, and everyone's slowing down, and I think you've got to say Roberto Colciago there getting in the way of Pierre-Yves Courtal's. He was on a fast one. His middle sector was slower though, and he will be slower, I think, over the line again, because he was definitely blocked into that final corner by Colciago. Everyone had a slow lap that last time through. Nobody has improved. We've got 5 minutes and 50 left of the session, and then we're going to go again. Michele Ceruti, very soft setup on the front end of the car. That rear end really lifting. Oh, there's a huge amount of space. Half a foot underneath the inside rear. If you're new to touring cars, that's okay. That's the kind of thing that you want the car to do. You want to lift that inside rear to reduce the grip on the rear end of the car and allow the car then to kind of rotate into the corner. You'll see it on all the different touring cars in this TCR field and across the world. But I have to say, that looked particularly high. A high dangle from Michele Ceruti. Down in 14th at the moment. Now, significantly, we have not seen Stefano Camini. He went back into the pits after the first lap. Now I guess he's back out on circuit, but he is 16th and last with 4 minutes and 50 going. Track limits for Jean-Carl Vernet, who's had his time deleted, although I think that was a time that was slow. There is Stefano Camini then in the Come To You Racing Audi. Perhaps he just went out and did an installation lap, knowing that the track will clean up throughout this session. No need to push in the early part of the session as long as you keep those tyres fresh. And he's doing a nice job of going very slowly around the circuit. Trying to see. Comes across the start-finishing line. You've got to say that that car maybe isn't happy. Doesn't sound like he's pushing, doesn't sound like he's changing up and down gears. Not trying to warm up the tyres, perhaps that's a strategy thing. Most of the teams now have gone back into the pits. They won't get back out for the end of the session to set another time, I don't think, unless there's a real rush to get a new set of tyres on. So at the moment, James Nash is on the bubble in 12th position. So if Stefano Camini can do a time, Nash will not qualify into Q2. Neither will Kajaya, our championship leader, Ceruti and Duncan Ende. Those are the guys that are in danger. Just overlooking the circuit in my commentary box, so I can see out the window we've got Fitzer coming back out onto circuit, and I think there is going to be just about enough time. These guys are going to have to push, but we've got a few cars coming out onto circuit again. Very, very tight for them, I think. So, question mark around Stefano Camini. No time, last position, as we look at a replay of Giacomo Altoe. And we've seen Formula 1 cars and single-seaters doing that, and Giacomo also having a problem. So Gianni Morbidelli going again. Frenz Fitzer also going again. Morbidelli is 9th, Fitzer is 7th. Most of the cars in the pits, so Nash is in trouble. He's not back out onto circuit. David Kajaya has come back out onto circuit in his Alfa Romeo, so he's looking to try and improve. We've only got 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining here. This is going to be tight. Danger zone for James Nash. Where is Stefano Camini? Okay, Camini's in the 3rd sector. So he has continued, and he's missed the pit lane, or certainly our pit lane at the back of circuit. He's going to go for a lap. It's going to be touch and go. And here he is, now winding up. The nose dives into the final corner, gets some tyre temperature into those front tyres and into the brakes. He needs to know he's got confidence when he puts on the anchors at the end of what is pretty long straight here in Bahrain. And off we go. Let's follow our champion from last year. Brand new car to him in Georgia, didn't get any testing time whatsoever until he got to the Tbilisi circuit. And still very much learning how this car works in terms of setup. Despite the fact that the Audi and the Seat and the Volkswagen are all from the same group, of course, each car has very different characteristics, and you cannot cannot move a setup from one car to the next. Really have to learn. Stefano Camini then has a 41.1 to beat in this first sector of the lap. That's what Cortals has done. We do have James Nash back out onto circuit, but we only have 1 minute remaining, so he's going to have to be pretty smart about getting his lap time in. Giacomo Altoe's lap was disallowed, so he's dropped down into 13th, and that's actually pushed Nash up to 11th and Kajaya into 12th. Camini, a 42.0 through the first sector. It's a second off Pierre-Yves Cortals. But remember how fast Cortals and Homola were. Colciago is a second off the two of them in third position, so Camini is still safe with that time. Just a reminder there, look at how big the gap is between the Opels and the rest of the field. Car 16, Kajaya has his time disallowed. Although I think that was his warm-up lap. Now he's pushing to be on a lap. Following Stefano Camini. Just dips his wheel onto the painted surface, which collects the dirt here. Obviously, we're in a desert, so the wind blows the sands onto the track. Difficult to know how much grip you have. And now onto the back straight. Camini did a 59.1 through the middle sector, so he's losing huge amounts of time. Is this going to be enough? The cut-off point from James Nash in 12th position, as we see an improvement from David Kajaya. The checkered flag is out. Here comes Stefano Camini. Has he done enough to get into the top 12 and into Q2? No, he has not. Camini is 13th and therefore is out of qualifying. Michele Ceruti in 15th position has improved in the first two sectors of the lap. Can she go into the top 12? No, she cannot. She goes 14th position. The track did not get any better throughout the second half of the session. Attila Tashi is on a lap. He is in 8th though, so he can abort that one. Kajaya is in 12th position, but there's no threat from anybody behind, so all these drivers might as well dive into the pits. We watch James Nash. It's going to be an improvement from Nash. I think he's missed our pit entrance, so he can complete this lap. He sits in 11th position with a 2:14.149 and now heads towards the end of the lap. And as I say, he is in 11th, therefore he will go into Q2. Maybe a little setup change to see how it went. Well, he moved up to 8th position. So the drivers that we have lost then, Stefano Camini, number 1 in the only Audi in the field. It will not take part in Q2. Ceruti in second, is the second driver not to qualify. Giacomo Altoe was fast enough to get into the top 12, but had his time disallowed. And then Duncan Ende in 16th position. Attila Tashi over the line into 7th, but those times are going to be erased. And we're going to focus on a 10-minute one shot in Q2. So all the teams are going to be looking at that times of the Opels, of GG Sport, of Mato Homola and Pierre-Yves Cortals, and scratch their head. There was no way that they were that fast in practice sessions. Well, we didn't see anything of Mato Homola, he was in the pits, but Pierre-Yves Cortals was there and thereabouts, but certainly nowhere near a 2:11.903. Hugely fast time from DG Sport. and the Opel Astra. Matto Homola has a 10-place grid penalty, let's not forget. Therefore, in race 1, he'll be dropped from wherever he qualifies down 10 spots. Race 2, it's not affected, but race 1 it is. So, Matto needs to qualify, as he said to me last night, in 10th position. He needs to be only 10th fastest. Therefore, he'll start from the back in race 1, but that's only 16th spot. He can only drop down to the back of the grid. In race 2, he'll be on pole position, and with a car that he's got underneath him at the moment, so fast, that would be a very good opportunity to score some very good points and open his campaign. He was one of the championship fighters in the early part of 2016 in the SEAT, took pole position in the second round of the championship, yet to win in the TCR International Series. Pierre-Yves Courtal's pretty new. Certainly no pole positions. And in fact, if I go to my all-time stats, I do not think we've ever seen an Opel on pole position. We've had an Audi, not an RS3. Oh, Stefano, there was the mistake. And had he not done that, he would have qualified. Actually, he had did have a long way to get into Q2. He was 0.7 of a second off the bubble. Stefano will be a little bit frustrated in the pit lane. There is no doubt about that. So pole positions then, so far all time in TCR. Honda have 10 and SEAT have 9. They are the top two. We have not seen an Opel on pole position as yet. And before Georgia last time out, we'd never seen an Alfa Romeo on pole position. But David Kajaya managed to do that. We have had an Audi on pole position. We will not have an Audi here. But that was a TT, not an RS3. That was kind of what I was halfway through saying, wasn't I? Fantastic, as always, to be on the Formula One package here in Bahrain. We have 2 races alongside Formula One this year, here in Bahrain, and then we are closing our season in Abu Dhabi. Wow, so 2 Middle Eastern races. And that may well be the start of the Middle Eastern TCR Championship as well, I believe. There's potential plans for that, to boost the grid numbers as well. Cars are heading back out onto circuit. As I say, Q2 is just 10 minutes in length, and therefore no time to do a change of tyres and back out. It will be simply a 1-lap dash. We haven't got all the cars out onto circuit. And of course, the other thing that we've obviously seen in Q1 is that we had 3 cars have their time disallowed for track limits at turn 6 and turn 15. If that happens in Q2, that will mean they will not get a time at all. So they've got to get they can get 2 times on these tyres, but as we saw with Attila Tashi, his second time lap was not as fast as his first because the tyres had already gone off by that point. 2:11.903 then, the time to beat. Pierre-Yves Courtal's, that was his ultimate fastest time. Of course, all of these guys out on track have had their times scrubbed from Q1, so they've got to go again. Jean-Carl Vernet moving to the front of the group ahead of the 2 Opels. Thanks to Phil Kinch on Twitter, at Ben Consti, sending me a question. Has there been a BOP adjustment this weekend on the Opel? Not as far as I'm aware, Phil. I will do some more digging. But I'm surprised, certainly, that we didn't see this kind of pace from them in practice. No evidence to suggest that Opel were this far ahead. However, there is a possibility, with tyres being at such a premium, that Opel have gone with new tyres and the rest of the field have gone and set their times on old tyres. Just 16 new tyres available to teams across the weekend. They may want those tyres fresh for the start of each race, and therefore can save a set, or at least 2 tyres. You don't have to run the tyres in sets, you can run them on axles. Maybe that's why we've got such great pace from the Opels. Let's see, 6.5 minutes there and thereabouts to find out. Jean-Carl Venet, the first man on circuit, a 42.0 in the first sector. He is pushing on. And as you'd expect, lighting up the timing screens. Good middle sector from Venet. As fast as we saw from the Opel in Q1. Venet only managed to do a 2:13.223, which was 0.3 faster than he managed yesterday. And that again was on old tyres. So I think the tyre situation may be the reason why we're seeing such a pace from the Opel. Either way, here comes Jean-Carl Venet then over the line to complete his first flying lap. And what is the time? A 2:13.275. Lost half a second in the last sector to the Opel. Okay. Maybe my theory is not correct then, because you'd expect a bigger improvement from Jean-Carl Venet if he does have new boots. Cortels comes over the line as the second car. No time from him, 20-odd seconds back. The rest of the field going slowly. Still warming up the tyres. Attila Tashi, though, as we saw in Q1, going for it straight away. All 4 wheels off, going into, I think that's turn 6. Which is a bit further around the lap, isn't it? And Tashi, a 41.6 in the first sector. Half a second slower than the Opels managed, but still pretty competitive. Where is this time going to put him? Half the session is gone. Venet on a warming down lap after that first attempt. Here comes Tashi. Nobody's done a competitive time, but is he faster than Jean-Carl Venet? He is, by 2 and a bit tenths of a second. So Tashi goes provisionally fastest, but a 2:13.032 is nowhere near what we saw the Opels do in Q1. Replay of him just dipping a wheel over the curb, and here is David Kajaya abusing the curbs here in Bahrain, and that abuse flicked the rear end of the car sideways, bit of a slide, and he managed a 2:12.877 to go provisionally fastest on this lap. So there's still more time in the Alfa Romeo. We obviously don't have Michele Cerruti in Q2 to fight for Alfa, but we do have Dusan Bulkovic. Bulkovic having problems with brakes yesterday. In fact, all 3 Alfa Romeos had problems with brakes. No overheating problems. That's kind of hampered the 1.8-litre engine they have inside that Giulietta. The brakes were a problem. And here comes Hugo Valente. This is a time lap. This is a lap that he's pushing. Cortals goes over the line with a 2:12.4, not as fast as Q1. And Hugo goes 2:12.6 into second position. So the gap has closed up massively. I think the Opels used their tyres in the first Q1. And that was why we saw such a gap. Valente, Colciago in third, Kajaya fourth, but now the cars come over the line. Matto Homola goes pole position. Matto Homola with just 1 free practice lap has managed to take pole position provisionally by 0.4 of a second over his teammate. It'll be his second pole position if he holds on to it. We've still got other cars to come across the line, but that is a story. Wow, 2.5 minutes remaining. Who is on a lap still? Jean-Carl Venet, what about him? Down in 12th position. He went back into the pits. Can he go back out again on a second set of tyres? We're going to see him try and do 2 laps. Gianni Morbidelli, the Italian, is in 10th position, so he is in provisionally pole for race 2, where I thought Matto Homola was going to be. And poor old Hommler is going to end up starting both races in 10th position. Why did he do that? Why did he go so fast? I mean, it's remarkable. It's fantastic, but it kind of defeats the whole object. He's going to drop to 10th with his grid penalty for the engine, and then he's going to start 10th again when they reverse his pole position. Ouch. Right, Dusan Borkovic is on a lap. 8th position for the moment for the Alfa Romeo. He's improved in the first sector. We're watching James Nash, who is not an improvement. I think he's going to wind himself down into the pits. We've got Pierre-Yves Courtals, who's improved in the middle sector as well. So he's going again. Kajaya improved his first sector of the lap, but by the end of the lap, the tyres said no more. And he did not manage to go faster than Courtals. But Courtals is going to be on pole position for the first race because Hommler will be removed. Hommler's gone into the pits. So no improvement from any of these guys. Here's Dusan Borkovic coming into the final corner. That Alfa Romeo is still looking very, very soft. No wonder it was so good in the wet. Oh, and Dusan gets hooked over that curb. It's a bit nasty, isn't it? We've seen that in Formula 1 and in F2. They kind of curbs drag you off the circuit in that final corner. Dusan over the line. Improvement in the first and third sector, but the middle sector was too slow, and he's fractionally behind Attila Tashi. Quick look. I think that is going to end up in a bit of a slide. Cocks the inside rear. Oh yeah, runs wide on the exit. Well, I think he could have found at least one position. Jean-Carl Vernet then went into the pits, did something, and he is now on a lap. This is his only attempt because he's only got 20 seconds left. Behind him, it looks like Pepe Oriola is being towed along, and that is because Oriola is in 11th position. Now then, just going to miss out on getting a second lap, so this is the only opportunity. Oriola is slow in the middle sector. Vernet is going to improve. These two, 12th and 11th. And the checkered flag falls on Jean-Carl Vernet. This is an improvement, but by how much? Pushes himself up into 6th position. Nice work from Jean-Carl Vernet. No improvement from Oriola behind. And that has bumped Gianni Morbidelli out of the top 10 and put Ferenc Fitzer on pole position for the second race. Also means Dusan Borkovic will be on the front row for that second race. So not so bad in the end. And that, I think, is that. No other cars out on track trying to do a lap. Oriola is going to be very grumpy. Stefano Camini is going to be very, very, very grumpy. Oriola is going to start both races from 12th. And remember, he won both races here last year. Now, if you do want to watch what happened last year, go onto our YouTube channel. We've got all the races in full for you from last year. And in fact, I'm not quite sure if we've got all the races ever, but we certainly have all of 2016 in highlight form and in full race form. So you can have a look to see how Pepe Oriola took a double victory last year. But he did have the benefit of being a bit higher up on the grid. Vernet will start both races mid-pack with his qualification in 6th position. And now the cars head into the pit lane. So we'll get confirmation of the grid in a moment. But a remarkable story. Matto Hommler, his second ever pole position in the International Series, taking his first pole position for Opel as a brand. But he will get a 10-place grid penalty and drop down to 10th for race 1, which means Pierre-Yves Courtals will be on pole position alongside Hugo Valente. Hugo 2/10 back. Roberto Colciago in the Honda and David Kajai will be on row 2. Vernet and Nash will be on row 3. And then Tashi and Borkovic row 4. Fitzer and Morbidelli on row 5. And then those 10 will be reversed for the second race on Sunday morning. Remember, our first race is coming up this afternoon at approximately 4 o'clock local time. Morbidelli will be very unhappy with 12th position, as will Stefano Camini in the only Audi RS3, missing out on Q2. Cerruti, lovely to have her back, in 14th position. Giacomo Altoe with times disallowed, and then Duncan Ende in 16th position. So that is that for TCR for the moment. The track gets ready for Formula 1 and Formula 2. And there is our pole position man. Who needs practice, eh? I might as well just turn up on Saturday. No practice for Matto Homola, brand new engine, huge amount of work for DG Sport, and he bangs a pole position lap in just shy of 4/10 faster than his teammate who had done the whole day of practice. Awesome work, Matto Homola. Had a great chat with him yesterday. Kajaya still holds on to the Drivers' Championship, ahead of Tashi, Oriola, Vernet and Fitzer are the top 5. No points for Matto Homola after Georgia. He now gets himself on the board with 5 and falls into 14th. It's going to be a good weekend for Opel here in Bahrain. I hope you'll join me and the team for our first race, approximately 4 o'clock local time. And then we'll have our second race at 1 o'clock on Sunday.
More points, and he is the champion. And that's his aim.